Yeah, let's do it.
Before we,
I got a lot to say, Larry.
oh, I'm happy. I got your text message and I was like, I have a lot to say about this comic too. It's a good read. It's fun.
Well, I got some questions for you for sure.
Oh, I hope I have the answers because I read a little bit of Daredevil now and then, but I don't know.
Well, they're not necessarily like fact questions, but like, what do you think about?
Oh, okay. I'll answer those all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think?
Hey, Larry, what do you think about Daredevil? I think it's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good. Hi, and welcome to Seattle's #1 comic book podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to the first issue of your next favorite comic. I'm Larry.
James.
And James and I were chomping at the bit to talk about Daredevil.
Yeah, I almost was like, let's do it a little early. I just finished reading it. I got thoughts on the brain.
The Man Without Fear. This was written by Frank Miller with art by John Romita Jr. And it was published by Marvel in 1993. James was still in three-corner pants.
There you go. I was too.
You were too. And but before we get into that, we always want to issue a spoiler alert. This is a review show. We definitely talk about the first issue, and we intend to talk about this issue.
And we'll spoil your milk.
We'll spoil it for sure. But before we do that, I want to talk really quick. Well, maybe not quick. I might go a little long on this one. Recent and Decent.
Recent and Decent? Let's do it.
Celebrating 25 years of Image Comics. This is the super spectacular 100 pages.
Ooh.
And the price point to match. I won't go into that.
$100?
No, it is a $9.99 comic. It is fat.
Oh,
it's
that's
about
a penny a page.
A penny a page. No, I think it's 10 cents a page, isn't it?
Oh, no, you're right.
10 cents a page.
I was being optimistic.
But
$1.
This is issue 225 of a comic, and
that doesn't sound so recent.
Well,
wait, the 225th comic is 100 pages?
Yes. And to celebrate the founding of Image Comics 25 years ago. And who do you think wrote this wonderful comic? One of the founding fathers of Image Comics.
Is it Kirkman?
Eric Larson. Close.
Eric Larson. Darn it, I was way off.
Eric Larson. This is Savage Dragon 225. Now, if I were to add up the punches, laughs, and salacious art, this would be well worth
that. Big number?
It would be, yeah. So, like, I don't know what the math breaks down to.
That's how I added up.
Oh, man. This is so many.
I haven't even seen it.
I've
seen other Savage Dragon, though.
Yeah, we did Savage Dragon on the show, and I have to say
go look it up, people. Larry loves it.
I love it. I still subscribe to it, but I don't always read it. And that...
Well, there's a lot of issues, you say.
Exactly.
If the 200 and whatever is 100 pages, then multiply that by 200. You got yourself a whole week worth of Larry reading comic books.
Yeah, this is very dense comic. And even with not picking it up for several months, maybe years now.
No, it had to be at least since our last one, when we talked about it.
225 issues. Just picking this up, and this is where I sometimes have a little conflict with the guys in my club. They all want to start, and rightfully so. They all want to start at number one.
And that's what this podcast is here for.
That's what this podcast is here for. But I don't subscribe to picking up issue number one. I pick up issue...
Larry lives his own life outside of the hour of this podcast, where he subscribes to his own comic book rules and regulations.
Right. I pick up issue 225, and I enjoy it. Oh,
He's rogue. He's a rogue.
This was so much fun. There's punch-ups, characters that I know and love. And what I think Eric Larson's done here is he just keeps this revolving cast of characters just so fresh. And what he's done here is he's broken open a multiverse where all the characters almost have amnesia and past lives that intersected with other ones, and it's super fun storytelling. And of course there's a big bad guy who comes in there and messes everything up, and there's punch up after punch up after punch up. So Savage Dragon 225 is my recent and decent. And as a kicker, they reprint in the back pages the very first Savage Dragon appearance in something called Graphic Fantasy Magazine. And
is it in like a different art style?
It is definitely in a different art style. The dragon, it has like a instead of the high, 10-inch fin on his head, he's got like a little bumpy thing on his head. He's a different dragon,
it's a
completely.
More filed out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's definitely wordier than the comics that I'm used to. So it is a product.
I don't know if I like that as much.
It is a product of its time. So recent and decent Savage Dragon issue 225.
So something I thought about while you were talking about it had a multiverse, and I've been thinking about I've been seeing multiverse all over the place, and I was thinking, I think multiverse is like the modern radioactive. Like you read old school comic books and it's like anytime they just wanted to like bridge a gap, they'd be like, oh, it was radioactive.
He's radioactive.
Like, how'd that spider give him his powers? It's radioactive. It was just like the solution for everything, but that still allowed it to be like sci-fi instead of fantasy.
Exactly.
And I feel like this multiverse thing, you see it all over the place. It's like, well, what if it was a universe where it was true? You're like, all right, then I guess.
There you go.
But, when you say that it's I don't know. It was just something I was thinking about, because we'll see a little bit of it when we get into Daredevil. Should we plunge in?
Plunge in. Daredevil, 1993, like we said, it was written by Frank Miller with art by John Romita Jr. That's JR, and it was published by Marvel. James, do you have...
So, we've done one... Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to ask you if you have any familiarity. That's not a word. Do you know who Daredevil is?
I watched the Ben Affleck one.
Okay.
And I think I wasn't, fully engaged.
Okay. Did you
watch
watch
I know he's blind.
You know he's blind.
And I know they were, kissing on the rooftop in the rain.
In the rain.
That's all I really got.
Yeah.
But blind is enough for me to, latch onto. It's, very identifiable. And, it's almost like I've heard the story outside of Daredevil of, the person who they lose, their sight or their hearing, and then the other senses are stronger as a result. It's something you hear about, almost in life.
Oh, sure. But compound that with some radioactivity.
Yeah, exactly. Make it radioactive, then think how strong it'll be. But I really like the idea of that kind of, it comes out of something that's true. It makes it pretty believable. And that he has a disadvantage that becomes his strength.
It's inspiring. And this is kind of an inspiring comic. I get inspired by this comic because, he overcomes, loss of his.
Should we go through the story of all the stuff he overcomes?
Yeah, he has, he's kind of a nerdy kid who overcomes a lot of adversity.
He's like a nerdy kid, and that's tough enough, And then, his dad is a famous boxer. And so the kid wants to like be tough like his dad, but his dad says, no, fighting is not the answer. Like, you don't want to grow up to be like what I am. Cause the mob like makes his dad like beat people up for him.
Yeah, he's a collector of
He's like,
outstanding
what do they
debts.
call that?
Yeah.
Some kind of bruiser or something. He was like Rocky.
Yeah, it's very Rocky, reminiscent of Rocky.
His dad is very Rocky.
Uh,
But so this moment like was what made me be like, I'm really into this comic. When the Daredevil kid, I forget his name.
Matt Murdock.
Matt Murdock, he comes back from school and he says, Dad, I beat this guy up. You would have been proud. You know, he was just sitting there with a dumb look on his face. And his dad hit him.
Right.
And Matt realized then that not only that hitting was, like, that moment taught so many lessons all at once. Like, it was like, his dad is the authority figure, and even the person you trust the most can still turn on you. And it had, like, violence is not the answer, and it had, like, it wasn't a great thing as a father, but, like, to create a superhero, it was a great moment.
Right. So he takes that angst and runs with it. And even before that, though, you're right. He was kind of like a little whelp and was getting beat up at school and harassed at school. And he did like small petty crimes that seemed kind of fun too, where he was masked. Yeah. Well, he put a mask on and then he'd go mess with the cops, and he stole the nightstick from this cop that was always giving him a hard time. And
yeah, it's a pretty funny scene.
And so he has like, there's layers to this young Matt Murdock, but they all kind of come to like a full head when he gets smacked by his dad for doing what he thought his dad would be proud of. And,
yeah, exactly.
And that just fuels his. I don't know how. Yeah, he hits the books harder. I mean, he just becomes.
Yeah. Well, what I like is he was a nerd, right? He removed from society, and then he focuses on a thing, right? And so you can be a nerd about, comic books or video games or whatever. And he was a nerd about being at the boxing gym. And so I love this panel of him at the gym with there's a light just over him, and it says he would punch away the tears till his fists sounded like machine guns or something like that. And I thought that line was so cool because it was everybody has their thing that they focus on to escape, and it's just perfect for a superhero to punch a punching bag a million times.
Right. But he's also, focusing in that rage, on that punching bag, but he is not punching back at school. So he gets picked on at school, but he turns the other cheek. And
exactly. He has discipline.
Yeah, discipline. There. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah. He's disciplined himself, and
he has the focus too. So what I love about this panel, it's just like a one bottom of the page panel. Do you see the one I'm talking about? Oh, yeah,
yeah. With the triangle of light.
And it's got the triangle of light over him, and the rest of the panel is blank. And it just made me think about okay, this is the focus. He is just focused on the bag, just as if he's completely blind to the rest around him. I think there's a couple places in this comic where they do a really good job of using blackness to be his, not being able to see. But it's really a way to let people focus on what there is to see.
Neat. Yeah.
Anyway.
That was really smart. So.
Thanks.
But he's not alone in this gym. There is a character that we are introduced to, and he is only known as Stick. He is a blind person. And we see him very briefly, and then we see the accident. and the accident
Yeah.
is
The accident is stupid.
it's a silly accident. Matt Murdock